a movie that Disney to this point has at least around $400 million invested in. This movie needs a floor of $1 billion just to think about breaking even. But Captain America right now, according to Deadline, 2014's Captain America Winter Soldier, 11 years ago, opened to $95 million over 3 days. Online. So this is today in Deadline. They just recently updated this. Captain America, Brave New World, a movie that Disney to this point, insofar as we know, has at least, before any marketing is spent, at least somewhere around $400 million, probably on the low end, invested in. It's probably $500 million. They've had so many reshoots for this thing. They're probably still reshooting it right now, still working on post-production.
This might be the one movie in history where the movie will do better if they don't release any trailers.
I think it very well could. Unfortunately, they've already released trailers.
The more, that's what I'm saying though, but the more that if they were to just kind of not do anything else to it now, don't do any more advertising, don't do anything like that. Because the more TV spots you put out there, the more trailers you put out there, the more scenes you put out there, the more interest is going to go down in this movie. Because nothing about this really sells itself other than it's a sequel to that damn TV show. So you might get lucky and a few people might come see it because of that.
I mean, this movie needs a floor, a bare minimum floor of $1 billion just to think about breaking even. And it might be 1.2 when it's all said and done. But Captain America right now, according to Deadline, they believe that the opening weekend for this movie is on track right now, and this is based largely on ticket pre-sales, obviously. 86 to 95 million over the President's Day weekend, and they're giving the 4-day, which would include the holiday Monday, putting it over 100 million. I want to remind folks that, you know, when comparing this to Deadpool and Wolverine, Spider-Man No Way Home, especially at the end of 2021, much bigger opening weekends than this. And Marvel movies, with the exception of things like Spider-Man, of course, with the exception of things like Deadpool and Wolverine that we told you was going to be the case, these Marvel movies to this point have followed an almost absolutely predictable pattern. By the second weekend for this movie, at least half of the box office is already going to be in the tank. Marvel movies since Endgame have become so horrifically front-loaded, again, with the exceptions that I mentioned, mainly because of the characters involved. But everything else follows that pattern where this is going to be probably a very front-loaded movie. That opening weekend is going to be the biggest thing. I mean, if they told me the opening weekend for this was going to be 150 million, I might think it has an outside chance. Here's the thing, though. I want to hear y'all's thoughts. I don't know how well this movie is going to play overseas. I have honestly no idea.
You're not looking at the bigger picture here. Captain America, Bold New Strategy is Marvel's new tax shelter. Because this movie's going to lose so much money.
That was a back
that they're going to be able to hide behind this forever.
You talk about
I had to make up for that last one.
I know you did, man.
You mean all the carry forward losses that they're gonna suffer on this one? I mean,
because you know they're reporting this thing is going to make $1 billion and it's going to, you know what I mean? So they're going to be able to bet against this for their next year's taxes. So yeah, if Mikey was here, he knows what I'm talking about.
No, I'm with you.
If they break 80, they should be happy because this has the potential to go lower depending on how the reviews are.
What was the Marvel's opening? Because I think that was similar to that, and that's probably where Disney's strategy is coming from right now.
Opening weekend was 46 for the Marvels.
I was going to say, was it that 50?
Bad?
Yeah, it was about 50.
So they're giving this one double that, basically. They're really banking on this one.
More or less.
I had this one at Quantumania levels. Let's see what Quantumania did in its opening. Because that's probably
a better one to probably
Quantumania finished at about 460
What did it open
million?
at,
106 for Quantumania.
Okay, so that's the one that they're actually going by then.
Yeah, but it's not going to do that. There's no way. And Quantumania followed that 50-50 that Valiant's talking about, where, you know, the front loading, It ended at 463. So we're saying this one is going to come in the 80s probably.
I still don't even understand how it opened that big.
If this one is as front loaded as Quantumania and it comes in lower on the opening weekend, you might be looking at a worldwide around 350.
This is the problem here. Let me show everybody. Here's the Marvels, right? You just gave us what the opening was. Let's go down to the box office here just to show everybody.
They're saying that the opening is going to be bigger than what this movie took in the U.S. Bullshit.
Well, it well could, but here's the point: $46 million on the opening weekend, and then it fell about 80%.
What does it have, though?
Okay,
let's be real. Let's take a moment, though, because Brie Larson is actually a movie star because she's won an Oscar. What has Anthony Mackie actually been in that's really?
As a lead, nothing. No, but my point is this: to follow the Marvel pattern, 46 million opening weekend, it finished at 84. Now, that's less than a 2X run. Less than a 2X run. This was the worst performance that we've ever seen for an MCU title like this, especially in the modern age. Okay, I'm not talking about the first couple of movies that they put out in 08 and 09 when it was new and they were still building. So I don't think it's going to be this. Now, you bring up Quantumania. I agree with you.
I think you're right. It's probably going to be closer to that, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Although this one, I think, suffered more from the girl thing. Let's be real, because
that is a problem.
350 is what I'm putting this thing in. I'm telling you, 350.
So you're being generous, then, Pro, because look at that. Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
Here's the thing. When you look at the box office here, opening weekend 106, it closed at 214. It went just a touch over 2X. Okay. My point is the pattern is there. That 2X. And then when you looked at Doctor Strange 2, it went about 2.5, I think, maybe, or a little bit less than 2.5x from opening weekend. So again, this is what I mean by front loaded. So we're going to have a very, very good idea. Here's the deal. I cannot see that the international box office right now, I would not expect it to be radically higher. Meaning, I don't think it's going to look like The Lion King, right? Where the domestic box office is like a third, or maybe I'm thinking of Moana 2, is like a third, and the international box office is 2/3. Yeah. So, right, because that was the pattern for Lion King even back to the first one. I don't see that pattern happening here. Most of these Marvel movies tend to have a roughly even split, maybe 55 international, 45 domestic. Here's the thing, though. This is something I think Disney is hoping for. Talked about a story Wednesday. The rumor is that Disney is considering recasting T'Challa, right? They need a new Black Panther character, like a real man Black Panther character. They whiffed on the second movie. They lost half the audience for that movie compared to the first one when you correctly adjust it. Actually, more than half the audience. The issue was for Black Panther is that the domestic performance for that film was significant compared to the international box office on average. And part of me wonders if they're not trying to, with this movie, they're trying to go back and capture all of the male Black fandom that they burned when they replaced their big character, Black Panther, with a woman, with a female substitute in Wakanda Forever in the second movie because Chadwick Boseman passed away. Right? We now know Disney has admitted that was a huge mistake because otherwise, why would they be talking about casting a guy again as Black Panther? They know it was a failure. They know they lost a ton of licensing revenue on toys because all those girl Black Panther toys, they couldn't sell hardly one of those things. All of that went to hell in a handbasket. I'm thinking with this, Disney is going to make a push. They need Anthony Mackie to be their new Black Panther substitute for the moment. What do y'all think?
They had Jonathan Majors have to fall out of this. They wanted to have Anthony Mackie, for reasons that we don't have to go into, succeed. That doesn't seem to be happening. You're talking about them recasting T'Challa, and all I'm doing is just sitting here as a simpleton in my studio here in somewhere sunny USA, and I'm thinking to myself, is there any character inside all of the Marvel roster that they could have brought that would have satisfied their diversity issues? And I just think to myself, feels like somewhere a storm could have been brewing this entire time. And I'm just gonna throw this out there. We had heard, and up until recently thought it was happening, and it may still happen, that they were going to hand the Wakanda series over to Storm, right? That was going to be the character that was going to carry it. And as we look back at the Marvel's box office, I just wonder if they got cold feet. I just wonder if after seeing the leading ladies of the Marvels lose that badly, if they said, you know what? We're not going to do the Storm thing anymore. We got to recast T'Challa, and then he can be with Storm, but we can't go all the way in with Storm as the lead for the Wakanda series. And you got to remember too, Disney cannot drop Wakanda. They can't go anywhere else. They got to do the Wakanda thing, so they got to do the Black Panther thing, because Disney, with their diversity stuff and their company, they went so far as these Bergs, B-E-R-G-S, these employee identification things, right, where you band together based on your immutable differences. They called all of their black employees Wakanda. So they really can't get rid of it now because it's embedded into the very culture of Disney.
No. I think this is the problem: is that Disney is now saddled with these bad decisions that they made years ago, and instead of trying to,
California,
yes, that too, but they're saddled with all these bad decisions that they've made, character choices, movie choices, narrative choices. Instead of just doing a 180, they're going to go forward with this. And instead of recognizing that their product is unsalvageable, in this case, Captain Falcon, the product was unsalvageable. Every test audience, insofar as we've heard, has panned this thing, has said it was terrible, and they keep trying to go back to the drawing board and spending more and more and more and more money on it. And they are now to a point, even after delaying it for an entire year, they're now forced to fart this thing out. That is probably going to be a total mess, and I'm here for it.
Name one single character the MCU made in phases 4, 5, and 6 that are worth watching. That's half the phases. That's half of them. Name one single character worth watching in the last 3 phases we've been dealing with.
Not one.
And that's the problem. That's why they're having to go back and drag RDJ back into this thing and say, will you please come pretend like you're playing Dr. Doom and then, switch back to what everybody wants, which is Tony Stark. That's why they're having to do this. I know, Tom, I blew your mind right there. Spoiler alert.
I got an answer.
Whoa, go, Tom, go.
Multiverse Wolverine.
Ah, darn it. That doesn't count. It does count.
It's not the same Wolverine. It's not the same Wolverine.
Watch it, bub.
He's the worst Wolverine ever. Remember that.
Okay, so they took
totally different.
They took the Wolverine we liked. They made him a loser for 1/3 of the film, then turned him into the same Wolverine that we always liked in the first place.
Basically, what they could have done with Luke. Yes.
Gotcha. Oh, you're right. That is what we wanted with Luke.
And look, I found it telling. The other day, I think Nate, Mr. H Reviews, did a video talking about Captain America, and he said, "What have we had? What's the last?" He was like halfway through the video before he realized that he had. And I even told him, I'm like, it's very telling, because this is, I think, exactly what people are doing. He was halfway through the video before he realized he'd completely forgotten about Deadpool and Wolverine, because like the rest of us, he had totally disassociated that movie with the MCU, which he is correct. And that's my point. And this is a guy that covers stuff, that reviews movies constantly. And Nate's like, what was the last thing that came out? The Marvels? This is going to come off of the Marvels? The worst thing they've ever produced? What are people excited about? And then he was like, oh, yeah, wait, Deadpool and Wolverine. But people went to go see that for Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds and the characters. And it was funny to watch that video, like, that mindset unfold in real time. He didn't edit it out, because I told us that was perfect, because you just completely illustrated the problem with Captain Falcon. And I find it funny in this article, we'll leave it with this, is that they're going back and this is terrible. The projection for Captain America Brave New Who Cares of 86 to 95 million over the 3-day. The projection takes into account the change up in cast in the Captain America franchise. So, in other words, we're calculating the fact that people look at this movie and go, "Where's Captain America?" Because we don't see him. He's not in here. The next installment is a grounded title, quote unquote, grounded title, a la 2014's Captain America: Winter Soldier. 11 years ago, which opened to 95 million over 3 days. If Captain America: Winter Soldier was 95 million in its opening 3-day weekend in 2014, today in 2025, butts in seats with today's ticket prices, that movie is close to 150 million, 140, 150 million 3-day.
I thought with inflation it'd be more like 30 bagillion, but okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that's my point, is that this is a far cry. So we've got a Captain America movie that over its 3-day it might not even beat an 11-year-old Captain America, the second Captain America movie from 11 years ago.
Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.